Hello, and welcome back in to Wenzel's World. Well, out here in the great outdoors again, looking around and enjoying the scenery. Right, pretty day after the sun's come out this afternoon, and it's quit raining, so really enjoying it. Well, today then, I got my little Peterson pipe here, spigot, P-lip system pipe, and inside of it smoking some tobacco. Come in the mail last week, some Toscano, and I meant to bring the tin with me or the label or something, but anyway, that's one thing I forgot about. I think they pronounce uh, symphosia, something like that. Symphosia, whatever it is. There's about four of these here Toscano tobaccos, and they're what they predominantly are is Kentucky dark fired tobacco. And then this one I've got here it's got some Virginias in it, and I think a little Latakia. I think it's what's in it. So anyway, I'm sitting out here this evening enjoying it. Done one out. See if I can get it fired back up again. Well, we're coming into the new year. Got big plans for New Year's Eve, do you? My New Year's Eve, I hope's like it is every other evening. When I get sleepy along about 10 o'clock, it's time to go to bed. So, anyway. My mama, she always had black-eyed peas on New Year's Day. We just cook up whatever we're gonna cook up. It don't matter, about the black-eyed peas. I've been shelling some zipper cream peas. We'll probably have them. Either that or pinto beans mixed with white ones or something. Oh, they say that, need to have black eyed peas on the first day of the new year. Good luck. Well, see, that's the thing of it. I don't believe in luck. I don't go by luck. I believe in providence. You say, well, what do you mean by that? Well, when I talk about providence, I'm thinking about the providence of God. I'm not talking about chance or luck or something like that, carrying a rabbit's foot in your pocket or hanging a horseshoe over the doorway. Now, if you do those things, it's free country. I ain't gonna tell you not to do it, but I don't usually do those things. I know some people's real superstitious about opening up a knife and ever how all that goes, and can't go in one door and out the other without making a cross on the ground and spitting in the middle of it or something like that. I don't remember how all that stuff goes, but I've heard all that stuff coming up. My daddy, he and his people, they wasn't superstitious like that, but my daddy and his people, my daddy, he's born in St. Louis, so they came from there, but my mama and her people, they grew up down in Middle Tennessee. So they and all her people, parents and grandparents and all that. So there was a lot of superstition steeped down there in them woods and so on. So anyway, you talk about the providence of God, you're talking about God's arrangement, how God governs things. That everything that is, God governed it, arranged it. He most certainly is in the good, but he has to allow the what we would call bad and sinful, what he calls sinful, and what we might call bad or mistake or something like that, you know. So, anyway, I'll leave that with you. It's a good study. I'd encourage you to think through it and study it. So, I don't know if you ever thought about this Toscano tobacco or not. It's put out by Cornell and Deal, and best I remember, this word I'm trying to say, whether or not it meets your criteria or not, I don't know. But best I remember, the word is Toscano. I think it means cigar. I think that's what it means. But anyway, it's they Jeremy Reeves and another gentleman were doing a video there at Cornell and Deal about this tobacco blend. And so it sounded real interesting to me, so I ordered some cans of it. So this is, I popped this and have been smoking it now for every evening about, I don't know, over a week now. So now it's not for the faint of heart. So if you don't, if nicotine bothers you, you don't need this particular blend. If you enjoy nicotine and you like a good, strong, full-bodied, flavored pipe tobacco, you'd like this blend. So I think it's $12 and something other for the can. You know, it's one of them cans that's about that tall. You know, whatever that, I can't remember now what it is. What is it? Is it 2 ounces, ounce and a half, whatever it is? I can't remember. 2 ounces, I guess. Yeah, give me a little something to drink here. Good grape juice. You know, been thinking about something other the last few days. Something popped up on my phone. I was scrolling through YouTube on the phone here. Some old fight films from prize fighters. And it got me to thinking a little bit. And I think that's one part that I haven't gone over yet in my young days. And again, you know, part of the reason that I make these videos is for the sake of the grandchildren or great grandchildren. If they ever get to wonder some things about their pop, if YouTube keeps these videos up here, then you know they can turn on it and listen. And if they ever get interested in trying to put things together, what happened when, where was he there? So anyway, well, when I was a boy, my daddy, he talked about my granddaddy. He was a blacksmith, which would have been his daddy. And he was a stout man, shoeing horses and things like that. So he was stout and sort of had a angry streak about him, you know, he could anger him pretty easy. But sometime in in his day, we all called him Papa. And sometime in Papa's day, I don't know when it was, he done some boxing. And so, and my daddy would talk about that a little bit. Now, I don't know if Papa trained in boxing or whether he just put on a pair of gloves and fought somebody one time. I don't remember how it went now. But you know, when I was a kid, I got interested in boxing. Now, you know, I never did really box for any kind of competition, and the neighbors, boys and things, they really didn't want. Once you got in there and got to boxing, they didn't like it. They didn't want to be hit. So I didn't have, you know, any of the neighbor boys that wanted to box, and so most of my boxing was with the speed bag and the heavy bag. But I got real interested, and there used to be a TV show come on when I was a boy. It's called Sports Challenge, and and they would raise money for boys' homes or something, and had these different people playing, competing against each other, and they'd play these little clips of golfers, baseball, basketball, football, and boxing. And there might have been horse racing, but I can't remember about that. And so, you know, every Saturday I'd watch that to see if there's any old boxing films on there. They wouldn't show it very long, just long enough to ask the question to see who could come up with the answer. And but the World Book Encyclopedia, when I went to school, they had some pictures about those pictures of those old prize fighters. And the first one that I remember that held the record of being a heavyweight champion was an old prize fighter by the name of John L. Sullivan. And as a matter of fact, my papa, he had a little black box that had a bunch of pictures in it. And one of them pictures was sort of like a postcard, thicker than what we call a postcard in our day and time. It was thicker than that. And it had a picture of this man, John L. Sullivan, on it. And had some history about him and some people he fought printed on the back of it. And so, anyway, I don't know if that thing's worth any money or not, but anyway, I've got that. And so John L. Sullivan, he was a bare knuckle fighter. And then a fella beat him. I can't remember. I used to have all them names memorized when I was a kid and so forth. I was sharper. And so I used to have all them names memorized. I can't remember now if there was a Corbin that beat Sullivan, or if there was a Frismon or something like that. One of them right in through there beat Sullivan. John L. Sullivan, he was a bare knuckle fighter. But that particular fight that he lost the championship in, they were fighting with gloves. First black man that ever had the heavyweight championship was a fellow by the name of Jack Johnson. And on YouTube, you can bring up these any of them fights that were filmed. They got them on YouTube. I've looked at different. So when I got to noticing that last week, I looked at one of them, and then of course other ones kept popping up, and I'd go to other ones and look at them, and of course Jack Johnson, he lost the championship to a fellow by the name of Jess Willard, I think was his name. I think it was Jess Willard. I may be wrong on this chronology, but Jess Willard was a big old tall fella, over 200 pounds. He lost the championship to a fellow who was about 5'10". and weighed about 180 something pounds. And his name was Jack Dempsey. And he was a very popular fighter in his day and time. They got a film of Jack Dempsey and Jess Willard fighting. Mostly it's Jack Dempsey. You talk about beating the snot out of him, as the old country saying goes. I mean, Jack Dempsey just whooped up on, knocked him down multiple times, and so on. I mean, it was it was an outdoor fight. All this big crowd of people around. Of course, Jack Dempsey, he eventually lost the championship to a fella. I think his name was Gene Tunney. I think that was his name. And then there was another recognized fighter back in them days. I'm leaving out a lot of them. His name was Max Baer. And you might remember that name. Max Baer played Jethro on the Beverly Hillbillies. Well, Max Baer Jr. Sr. was the prize fighter. So I don't know if you knew that or not. And if Jethro hadn't passed away, he's the last one of the Beverly Hillbillies. But anyhow, Max Baer, he killed a man one time boxing. And so killed a man one time boxing. And he said he never would hit a man that hard again. And there was another man that was real big name, Joe Louis. He was a big name. Of course, he won or lost the championship eventually. And then after Joe Louis, let's see, who was it? I'm not keeping this all in chronological order. Somewhere in through there came about a fella by the name of Jersey Joe Walcott. He became the heavyweight champion. And he lost the championship to a fella that they made fun of. And his name was Rocky Marciano. Marciano, he won the championship in 1952 and retired undefeated in 1956. And the best I remember, Rocky Marciano lost one fight as an amateur and never lost another fight, never lost a professional fight. Retired undefeated, as I already said, so. And then there was a fella had a unique style. His name was Floyd Patterson. He had a unique style of holding his fist while he was dancing there, jabbing and hitting. It was him. Of course, when I was a kid, there was Joe Frazier and Cassius Clay, who changed his name to Muhammad Ali, and all just different ones like that. I used to order, when I was a kid, I ordered some pictures of them old prize fighters. I had a picture of John L. Sullivan, had a picture of Jack Dempsey, had a picture of Rocky Marciano. I can't remember now anybody else I had. And me and some more boys at school, we got interested in wrestling. I remember us going one time, we'd talk about them, we'd watch them on television, we'd talk about them at school, and once we got our driver's license, we went to, y'all call it Muletown, we call it Columbia, Tennessee. They had a wrestling match over there. We went over there and watched them wrestlers. My granddaddy, he thought it was real, the wrestling. Oh man, he'd go over to, he didn't have a television, but he'd go over to the neighbor's house, Mr. Leslie Criswell, and they'd sit down on Saturday afternoons and they'd watch wrestling. You know, he, Mr. Criswell might have thought this was real. I don't know, but they watched it. They thought it was real. Of course, they got to be in good shape. You know, take all them falls and things like that. I remember some of them wrestlers, Jackie Fargo and his brother Roughhouse, and Bearcat Brown, and Tojo Yamamoto, and there was a couple of twins dressed like Germans, Big Bad John. I mean, all kind of wrestlers. What was that one name? Gorgeous George. One of them, I think there was more than one Gorgeous George. I think one of them became got the Lord saved and he became an evangelist. Well, at 22 minutes, I guess I've been out here jawing enough. So anyway, I thought maybe you might enjoy listening to some of my stories about and I really followed them there at boxing. Any of them that come on TV that boxed during the Olympics, I'd watch the Olympics boxing, you know. And I remember Frazier and Ali, whenever they were, before they boxed and their match and everything, how they ragged each other, and you know how Ali was. He had a lot of mouth. So, anyway, I really watched that stuff. I took a big interest in boxing now. So, of course, we lived out in the country. There wasn't no Golden Glove or anything like that around us. The little place where I went to school, my little town didn't have but about 800 people in it. Well, there wasn't no opportunities like that. Well, I'm gonna get off here, I guess. So until we meet again, have a good one.